Welcome back, everybody, to the Tennessee Titans franchise here on Madden 23. Currently, our Tennessee Titans sit at a record of 3-0. They're hoping to keep their undefeated season alive as they face off against Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and the 2-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Tennessee's gotten off to a really good start this year, and hopefully they can keep it going against a very, very tough opponent. So in today's episode, we'll be playing this game here against the Chiefs, obviously, and we'll also be doing our very first prospect profile of the year, in which we're going to be looking at the quarterbacks in this year's draft class, which should be a lot of fun. Last episode, we had a doubleheader, Week 2 in Indianapolis against the Colts, and then Week 3 at home against the Jags. We won both games. The Jags game was especially exciting. It went into overtime, and it went down literally to the final 20 seconds of overtime, but a late 50-yard touchdown pass propelled us to the win instead of a near tie. We even had Caleb Farley win Player of the Week, along with, ironically, Patrick Mahomes, who we are about to go up against today. But before we do that, I do want to talk about the quarterback situation, because obviously we're going to be going over all of these prospects here. So fittingly, we have a check-in with our QB1, Malik Willis, who I think has played pretty well so far this year. He was really good last week against Jacksonville. I still want to praise the team here, however, because even with Malik Willis playing pretty well, we're not 3-0 unless we're clicking on both sides of the ball. So as we look at our roster, we have two talented quarterbacks, both of whom I think can be our franchise quarterback, but I'm not currently sold on either of them. That starts with the physical specimen here of Malik Willis in his third year out of Liberty. He's a pretty good quarterback. I don't know if he is the type of guy who can truly elevate a team. We haven't really seen that from him yet, but I do think he is a good player. He hasn't played a full season of football yet. In year one, we used him as a gadget guy early on before starting him the final 6 or 7 games of the year. And then last year, obviously, he got injured towards the end of the season. He missed the playoffs, so we haven't seen him in a playoff game yet. And then this year, he's been pretty solid, particularly last week against Jacksonville, where he had one of the better games of his career. I'm not sold on him, but I do like him a lot. There's also Bryson Byrne, who we drafted in the 4th round this year out of the University of Alabama. Byrne is obviously very unproven. He's a 21-year-old rookie. He's only thrown 2 NFL passes so far, but one of them was a sweet 38-yard touchdown. I think both of these guys have franchise quarterback upside, but I'm still not entirely sold that we have our franchise quarterback currently on the roster. Overall, I think this is a pretty good quarterback class. Maybe not as good as last year's, but still really strong. As we look at some of the quarterbacks drafted in this series, in year 1, we had Clyde Williamson as the #1 pick, with Masaru Lee and Genesis Moon also in the 1st round. Jackson Kayuma is also currently starting as well. And then obviously last year's quarterback class was loaded with Kate Hutchinson, the Heisman Trophy winner, going #1 overall. Bartholomew Blunt and Kane Sanders were both top 10 picks within our division. Isaiah Gordon, Sidney McDonald, and DeAndre Smith were also first-rounders. And you had plenty of guys down the board, including Sterling Yorkshire, the college football playoff MVP, who is starting with the Buccaneers. So as it stands now, there is not a clear top dog, unlike the last 2 years with Clyde Williamson and Kate Hutchinson. They were the projected #1 picks all along. This year, that's not the case, and I think as of right now, there are really 3 guys who are truly in the conversation for that QB1 title, and that starts with Romeo Colucci out of Oklahoma, who is currently the very slight favorite to be the top quarterback off the board. I think Colucci is the best QB in this draft class. He's got everything you look for at the quarterback position. He's athletic, he's accurate, he can make every throw in the book, and sneakily, he's a really good runner. He's explosive, he's dynamic. He is a 2-year starter who was really good last year. He improved pretty much every single game last year, leading Oklahoma to the college football playoff, where he was quite good. This year, he's a true Heisman Trophy contender. Oklahoma looks like they can beat just about anybody. He's got one of the stronger arms in this class. He's one of the more accurate guys in this class. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And quietly, he ran for over 1,000 yards last year. So I think he is the most complete quarterback in this draft. He's got a high floor and a high ceiling. And I can't really say that about a lot of the other prospects here. I'm not sure he's worthy of truly being the #1 pick. If he plays really well this year, he certainly could be. But there are some guys right on his tail, including Justin Tucker out of Duke. In terms of production, I think Tucker has everybody in this class beat. Tucker finished in 3rd place last year for the Heisman Trophy. He was phenomenal last season, and currently he is the early season favorite to win the Heisman. And I think if he has a Heisman-esque season, he very well could be the top quarterback off the board. I think he's the best pure passer in this draft. I don't think he's got as strong of an arm as Romeo Colucci. I do think he's a little bit more accurate and a little bit more poised. He's a big guy as well, 6'4", 225, but he's a really impressive runner of the football for his size. So along with him being an elite passer, he's a good runner as well. I know it says he won the Heisman last year, but in our vote, remember, he finished third. He has shown very consistent improvement as well throughout his 4-year career. His passer rating has gone up by around 25 each season. So he has some very linear growth. It's been super consistent, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that shows that he's got a really high floor. I don't think he's got the physical upside that Romeo Colucci does, but I think he's really good. Then we get to some of the more fringe first-rounders, and that starts with Barrett Cherokee out of Oregon, who I think has a higher ceiling than probably any quarterback in this draft. He has the strongest arm of any quarterback here. He's probably more dynamic on the ground than any quarterback here, but he's also got a little ways to go. He tries to do too much sometimes. Look at this play where he runs in the back of the end zone, fakes out the sack, and makes a great throw. That's an awesome highlight play, but that also could have been a safety as well. His accuracy is definitely not on the level of the top two guys that we talked about earlier. He can make pretty much every throw in the book, but he needs to be a lot more consistent on a play-to-play basis to where I think that's when he can really cement himself as a top 10 pick. He's off to a pretty good start this year. His completion percentage has improved, but I think teams are more so going to like the physical presence and the athletic attributes of him rather than his inconsistent production. He's going to wow people at the combine. He's going to wow people at the pro days, and I think that's ultimately what's going to make him a first-round pick, and I do see a world where he's the top quarterback off the board. He does not beat Kareem Kamara in terms of pure athleticism, however. Kareem Kamara is a complete freak in every sense of the word. 6'3", 212 pounds. He moves like a wide receiver. I mean, this guy's got unbelievable speed, unbelievable quickness. His arm is almost as strong as Barrett Cherokee's, and he's honestly a little bit more accurate. So I think he's kind of in the same conversation of Cherokee as a guy who's got a little bit to improve in terms of consistency, but in terms of physical upside, there are not many quarterbacks you'll find who are more athletic than him. This guy's going to run a 4.3. He is not just fast, though. He's quick, he's shifty, he's elusive, and I honestly think he's a little bit more accurate at this point in time compared to Barrett Cherokee. He just doesn't quite have the arm strength. Arizona's had some great wide receivers these past couple of years. Obviously, Scottie Pickens is at the top of that list. This year, Arizona's offensive core is honestly pretty bad. So if Kamara plays well, that'll really say a lot about him, and I think that could move him up to being a consistent first-rounder in all mock drafts. That brings us to the day two guys. I think this is really where you're going to find value in this class because it's a deep group of quarterbacks, and that starts with Scotty Kimbrell, the second out of USC. Kimbrell quietly has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country over these last couple of years. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the class. He's got a pretty strong arm. He's not dynamic on the ground per se, so you're not going to really get the rushing ability with him that you will compared to the top four guys. And along with that, I don't think he's great at reading defenses. He's accurate, but he puts the ball in harm's way a little bit too much. So he's going to throw for a very high completion percentage, 65% last year. He's at 71% this year, but he just has too many turnover-worthy throws. He only threw 7 interceptions last year, 5 of which came in one game. But even so, there are too many turnover-worthy plays with him. He's already thrown 4 picks this year, so he's got to clean that up. And I think if he does, he could be really good. Ernie Capellar from Florida, to me, is the most polarizing quarterback in the draft because he has all the physical ability, but when you watch him, there's a lot left to be desired. In the college football playoff last year, I was honestly pretty disappointed. He didn't really elevate the Florida team over the hump, and I think if he was able to, Florida could have and should have won the national championship. He's a little bit small, 6 foot, around 200 pounds, but he's fast, he's dynamic. He's got a decently strong arm. It's not weak per se, but he doesn't necessarily have a cannon either. In terms of accuracy, it's pretty solid as well, but I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot left to be desired with him. I see a world where Ernie Capellar ends up being a first-round pick. I also see a world where Ernie Capellar is Florida's backup in 3 weeks. There's just no middle ground with him. So because of that, I think the floor with Ernie Capellar is pretty low. But he's got the shot to be a really good player if he can just be more consistent and more smart and more accurate in the pocket. Drain Ignatius from Middle Tennessee State is a pretty fun player. 2-year starter for the Blue Raiders. This is a guy who also really improved throughout last season. And in the college football playoff, he played quite well. He did good when the lights were the brightest. Ignatius has everything you look for in a quarterback except their arm strength. He has a pretty weak arm, but other than that, he's accurate, he's confident, he can make super tight window throws. His completion percentage numbers are not great, but that's because he's in a very aggressive quarterback. Despite not having a weak arm, he does like to go downfield in the 20 to 30 yard range very often. He really trusts his receivers to make plays, and he's the type of quarterback that you want to play with. Teams are just going to be a little bit scared off by the physical limitations, so I think the ceiling with Ignatius is a little bit lower than some of the other guys in this class. But I do think he very well could be a good player in the second or third round. If you're looking for more physical upside, I think some of these next few guys might be more up your alley, and that starts with Marco Prince from South Carolina. 6'1", 221 pounds. Prince has been really solid as a 3-year starter for the Gamecocks. He has a decently strong arm. Again, not a cannon, but far from a noodle. This is another guy who I think is really accurate, but the numbers don't really reflect it. He doesn't miss a lot of throws. He just, like Scotty Kimbrell from USC, sometimes puts the ball in harm's way a little bit too often. 15 interceptions as a sophomore. He did really cut that down last year to 7, which is certainly promising. He did also have slightly less big-time throws last year. So I think he's improving in terms of becoming a smarter quarterback and is the prototypical mid-round guy who could be a good player. Has a lot of similarities to a guy like Dak Prescott. Isn't going to wow you physically, but there aren't necessarily any red flags other than sometimes being a little bit too aggressive. Jorgensen Jupiter is a mammoth of a human being. 6'5", 230 pounds. He's big. He's got a strong arm. He's a physical runner. He's built like Josh Allen. And I'm not saying he is Josh Allen. He doesn't have Josh Allen's arm strength. He's not as good of a passer, but he runs very similarly in that physical, tough way that Allen does. I think Jorgensen Jupiter's improvement over the last couple of years really speaks volumes to the character that this kid has, the work ethic that he has. Through his first couple of years, he was just flat out bad. And then last year, it's like a switch was flipped, and he really improved. This year as a senior, he's getting some true Heisman hype, and through Oklahoma State's first couple of games, he has absolutely lived up to it. If he keeps this up, I think somebody's going to take a shot on him within the top 50 picks, maybe even in the first round. While we're on the subject of guys whose stocks are going up, nobody's stock is rising higher right now than Georgia's Aram Kachiken. The past couple of years, we've seen guys like Kane Sanders and Masaru Lee who opened up the season as projected day 3 picks and ended up going in the top 10. If anybody's going to do that this year, it could be Georgia's lefty, Aram Kachiken, who through Georgia's first 3 games of the year has been unbelievable. He's been the best player in college football so far this season, and I don't think it's close. He has shown the arm strength. He's shown the accuracy. He's shown the ability to be dynamic on the ground, and he's done so while being super efficient. He's completed pretty much 70% of his passes and is averaging 10 yards a carry. So he's been efficient, he's been dynamic, he's been dominant. The reason why he's only projected in this range is that he's a little bit small, he's under 200 pounds, and it's a small sample size. He's only been doing this for 3 games. He's got to be able to keep this production up, but if he does, I think he could be a first rounder. That brings us into the day 3 guys, and there are some interesting flyers here down the board, starting with these 3 right here, McKenzie, Young, and Fisher, all of whom I think could be value picks in the 4th or 5th round. That starts with Benjamin McKenzie from Tennessee, who's had a roller coaster career. Things started off really well as a sophomore, then he got hurt, and then things have fallen apart, really not just for him, but the entire Tennessee football program. This is a guy who's got good physical ability, 6'2", 215, pretty fast, decently strong arm. So far this year, he's been pretty good through Tennessee's first 2 games, so we've got to see it keep up. But this is a guy who was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, someone who you could identify as a blue-chip talent, but that hasn't really translated yet, and there aren't necessarily any physical things that pop out enough for him to really be a 1st or 2nd round guy as of now. Scooter Young Jr. is a very fascinating player to me. This guy is also built like a tank. 6'4", 234 pounds. My player comparison for him is Cam Newton, but with a blindfold on. He's big, he's physical, he's dynamic on the ground, he's got a really strong arm, but he is super inaccurate, and he also has a hard time seeing open rushing lanes. So because of that, his completion percentage through his collegiate career is not good. His yards per carry as a runner is not very good. So because of that, the production really isn't there. And I literally think it's because it's like he's wearing a blindfold out there. He misses open throws constantly. He doesn't see open rushing lanes, but all the physical boxes that can be checked are amazing. He's super big, super fast, super strong, but he's got a long ways to go in terms of his development. Graham Fisher from North Carolina is the complete opposite. This guy's steady, he's reliable, his production over the past season has been incredible. He threw for over 40 touchdowns last year. He turns over the ball a little bit too much, but he's really accurate. He's pretty good on the ground. He just has a super weak arm. That's the one issue with him. I think he's going to be the type of guy who's going to be a journeyman backup who makes a ton of money and is a really steady and reliable player, but maybe never is a true starter. He's completed 80% of his passes this year, and again, last year, 42 touchdowns. He makes a lot of big-time throws. Again, he just does not have a very strong arm. In terms of production, he has first-round pick numbers, but the physical limitations is what's going to scare teams away from him. But I think the floor is high. He's going to be a good pro. Then as we go down the board trying to find some gems, you've got guys like Jacob King, Lyndon Kirkstead, solid guys who are probably going to go in the 5th or 6th round. I really like Donovan Ferguson, though, out of South Florida. 6'3", 200 pounds. This is another guy who's really good on the ground, pretty solid in the air. He does not have eye-popping numbers, but I feel like that's just because he's a really steady and efficient player. He doesn't turn the ball over, he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and he has the physical ability that you like. He's a good runner, his arm is pretty solid. So far this year, he's been super accurate, completing 71% of his passes, albeit only one game. But that was against a really solid Syracuse team in which South Florida, a Group 5 school, won that game, largely because of the performance of Donovan Ferguson. As we look at the undrafted guys, there are some interesting players here with Seth Maddox, Kujay Reddings, Kennedy Newsfort, and Marquez Shakir out of Nebraska. He's 5'6", 170 pounds, Shakir is. And I know that's a little bit of a concern. Obviously, that's why he's projected to not get picked. He's tiny, but he's dynamic. Impressive athlete. He's got maybe the strongest arm in the class, but his height and size is a concern at the quarterback position. And I don't know if he has a future in the NFL at QB, especially considering he's only started 2 games at the position in his collegiate career. Now, with Shakir, he's so dynamic and explosive, I think you could put him at another position, running back, slot receiver, kick returner. He could be really good. So I think he's going to have a role in the NFL. I just don't really know what position. So that's the quarterback draft class here. This doesn't include possible underclassmen who could declare. But as we look at next year's class and some of the underclassmen, I think it's a pretty weak group. I think next year's quarterback class is going to be quite bad. So for a team like the Titans, if they're considering getting a quarterback within the next couple of years, this is the offseason to do it, because next year there are no clear top prospects at all. The name who would stand out the most to me is Puma Whitlock, and he's only a sophomore at Ohio State. He's only played 2 games so far. I think he's the best non-senior quarterback prospect in the country. He could declare for the draft this year or next year, but he could also stay in school for a while and be a top prospect down the line. So that'll wrap up our prospect profile. Let me know what you thought of some of those guys down below in the comments. As we prepare here for the Chiefs, they're 2-1. Their last game, they beat the Raiders 63-14. Yeah, that's a lot of points. It's not even like anybody stood out in particular. Mahomes had 5 touchdowns. They ran for 4 scores on the ground. They didn't have any special teams or defensive touchdowns. None of their players on either side of the ball stood out statistically. It was just a dominant, complete team effort from start to finish. So, although we have to worry about Patrick Mahomes because he is the best quarterback in the National Football League, we have to worry about the entire team. The Chiefs have drafted so well over recent years. They've added some big-time players these last couple of off seasons like Justin Jefferson and Calvin Ridley, amongst others. So, yeah, these guys are really, really good. As we look at their roster, obviously Patrick Mahomes is the standout here. Mahomes has been the best quarterback in the league for a number of years now, and we've certainly got our hands full trying to deal with this guy. Our defense has been solid this year, although they were not great last week against Trevor Lawrence, and it could be harder against Patrick Mahomes, who has been really good this year, which isn't really a surprise. I mean, it's Patrick friggin' Mahomes. But these guys, they're not just scary in terms of quarterback. They've got a ton of weapons. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Dahlfriend, and then look at the receivers. They traded for Justin Jefferson a couple years ago. He's obviously one of the best receivers in the NFL. And yeah, we're going to have to try to stop him with all the other weapons these guys have. He's been really good so far this year. The Chiefs just gave him a fat contract extension, so he will not be going anywhere. But look at the rest of their receiving core. This offseason alone, they signed Calvin Ridley, Kendrick Bourne, and Brandon Ayuk. So much so that they don't even need Jaden Wilson-Miller anymore, who they traded away in the preseason to the Cleveland Browns. Don't forget, they have one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history in Travis Kelce, who's still a 96 overall. Their defense is really solid as well. They've got plenty of young talent on both sides of the ball. Guys like Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis. They've drafted so well the last few years while having so much high-end talent. So, yeah, we are in for it. Also, by the way, there's going to be heavy rain. The weather is going to be a disaster, which I think honestly bodes well for us. I think we're a very physical team. We love to run the ball. So I think this rain and wind could honestly be a good thing for our chances. So let's get ourselves now into this Week 4 matchup here in rainy Nashville, Tennessee. It was super rainy last week when the Titans had their home opener against the Jaguars, so I don't know what type of weather issues are going on, but clearly there's something up. The 3-0 Titans look to make it 4-0 as they face off against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs as the Titans open up with the football here on a 3rd and 12. Willis looks to throw it. He goes short for the former Chief, Mecole Hardman, who does not get the first down. He couldn't find anybody open downfield and was hoping Hardman would make a play after the catch, but that will not happen. And so Kansas City will get the football here from the 45-yard line. It's a handoff up the middle for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he will gain 13 yards, moving the chains here for Kansas City. The Chiefs quietly have a really fun running back duo with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Patrick Dahlfriend, who they drafted in the 4th round out of USC last year. Edwards-Helaire makes another play, this time in the air, as that'll go for a gain of around 19 yards. Now in the red zone, 1st and goal. Mahomes goes up the middle. It's caught for a touchdown by, once again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, doing everything for the Chiefs here on this opening drive. That's a good start here for Kansas City as they lead 7-0. We'll see if the Titans can look to respond here. First play of the new drive. It's going to be a handoff for the rookie Elijah Bryant. Outruns Bolton and is pushed out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Good run there by Bryant, the top pick in the 2nd round this year out of the University of Florida. He has looked very solid here through the opening few weeks of his rookie year. Derrick Henry with a nice play up the middle, trucks Leo Chanel and brings it to the 37-yard line. Good run there for King Henry. Following play here for Tennessee, Willis looks to throw it under a little bit of pressure, connects with Scotty Pickens, who quickly is wrapped up by Chanel at the 23. Now in the red zone, it's a 3rd and 7 at the 7, so essentially a 3rd and goal. Willis looks to throw it. He goes short for Ayutundo, who cannot hold on to the ball. So the Chiefs get the stop. Tennessee is going to be forced to kick. 24-yard attempt for Randy Bullock is up and good. In fact, Randy has Tennessee on the board. Last year in the rain against Carolina, Randy Bullock could not kick it off, so it's good to see that he has pretty much beaten his kryptonite. Kansas City with it back. Here's Travis Kelce, the future Hall of Fame tight end of the 47-yard line. Nice throw by Patrick Mahomes. 2nd and 3 now. It's a pitch to the outside for Edwards-Helaire, and he loses about 6. Harold Landry with the initial hit, and then Asher Gonzalez, the rookie out of San Diego State, finishes off the play. And so that'll make it a 3rd and 9 for Kansas City. We'll see what Mahomes has up in store here as he's going to look to throw it. With time, goes up the middle, threading the needle perfectly for Travis Kelce, who gets it to the 28-yard line, and that'll wrap up quarter number 1. Pretty good start for the Chiefs as they lead 7-3 up to this point. The Chiefs are moving it down the field nicely, so we'll see if they can extend their lead as they have it at the 28 here, first play of the second quarter. Mahomes looks to throw it. He goes up the middle for Travis Kelce, breaking tackles. He will get the Chiefs to the 12-yard line. The weather does not look like much of an issue for Mahomes. He's 7 of 8 right now. He's really making good throws. I mean, he's looking like typical Patrick Mahomes. Following play, Mahomes, under a little bit of pressure, connects for a touchdown. It's Patrick Daufriend with the score. Both of Kansas City's running backs have receiving touchdowns today. Daufriend is basically their version of Elijah Bryant, a shifty running back who can make plays as a receiver, and you can line him up just around anywhere on the field. Willis takes a shot for Pickens. He had him open, but overthrows him. Scotty Pickens burned both defensive backs. He was wide open. Gotta make that throw. That's a touchdown being taken off the board. 3rd and 2, handoff for Elijah Bryant. He'll make up for it with a nice run up the middle to the 49-yard line. Good start here for Bryant. 3 carries, 35 yards. 3rd and 6 now from the 46 here for Tennessee. Willis drops back to throw it. Under a little bit of pressure, takes another shot for Pickens. And again, it's overthrown, incomplete. The Titans would elect to punt it rather than go for it or kicking a field goal until the Chiefs get it back, as it's a handoff up the middle for Patrick Daufriend. He's going to weave his way forward for a nice gain to the 43-yard line. Solid start for Daufriend. We followed him during the end of his college career. He was a great player at USC, and so far has really carved out a niche but nice role here for the Kansas City offense. Play action fake. Mahomes, under a little bit of pressure, chucks it off his back foot. It's caught by Justin Jefferson, who gets it to the 8-yard line for a nice gain of 24. It's one of the first defensive plays today where the Titans have sent actual pressure, but of course Justin Jefferson had to be wide open. 2nd and goal, dump off for Kelce. He dives his way in for a touchdown. Mahomes with a hat trick. 3 passing touchdowns in the first half, and Kansas City is rolling right now. They lead this one at 21-3. The Titans got to respond late here in the first half, or else this could get ugly. Derrick Henry demolishes the safety forward as he's going to bring it to the 41-yard line, and that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. All Kansas City right now, I think the Titans can put themselves back in the game with points on this drive, but they've got to execute, and so far the offense has been pretty bad today. On 3rd down, the pass is offline for McCole Hardman, so the Titans will have to punt it. Chiefs get it back. 3rd and 6. Nice throw up the middle for Justin Jefferson. He gets it to the 38-yard line for a solid gain. 2nd and 10 now with under a minute left to go here in the first half. Kansas City with 2 timeouts still available. Mahomes looks to throw it. Goes up the middle again for Jefferson, who gets it past midfield. Justin Jefferson started the game off pretty quietly, but here in the second quarter, he is playing like, well, typical Justin Jefferson. On 3rd down, the pass is caught by Ayuk, who gets by Chidobe Awuzie and is wrapped up at the 1st down yards marker at the 21-yard line. With 7 seconds and no more timeouts, the Chiefs are just going to play it safe and kick the field goal. This one from around 38 yards out is up, and it is good. There are close to 15-mile-an-hour winds here, but there have not been any kicking issues yet for either team, as Harrison Butker splits the uprights with no problem, and the Chiefs are dominating here in Tennessee. They lead this game 24-3. Let's take a look at our halftime report. Keep in mind, since this is one of the 4 o'clock games, most of the games this week have already wrapped up. Let's head to the H-Town. Let Russ cook, the kids say. Russell Wilson would throw 3 passing touchdowns in this one, 2 of which were caught by big booty Judge Judy, as Denver takes it home 28-14 over Houston. The Broncos start the year off 3-1, while the Texans drop down to 1-3, despite a pretty solid game from rookie quarterback Kane Sanders. In the desert, we've got a potential blowout brewing in Arizona, as it's been all Cardinals so far. Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown would connect on this beautiful touchdown to extend the Cardinals' lead up to 14-0, and it's only getting worse for the Bears as Arizona reportedly is driving down the field, marching on the doorstep. The Cardinals have a shot to possibly extend the lead even more as we go into halftime. The Bears 1-2, needing a win. Doesn't look like they're going to get it today. And finally, in Buffalo, the Bartholomew Blunt era in Indianapolis continues to go swimmingly. This touchdown pass in overtime from Blunt to Michael Pittman would be the dagger as the Colts win it 27-21 Indianapolis is now 3-1 with their rookie quarterback Bartholomew Blount, who threw for 4 touchdowns in this game. Blount's only loss back in Week 2 against the Titans. Tennessee's defense must look awfully good for how well they played against Bartholomew Blount. But I guess you can't compliment Tennessee's defense too much because ever since that game, they have looked like Swiss cheese the last couple of weeks. So as we go into the second half, things are rough. We're down by 21. We don't even start with the ball. Kansas City opens up with possession. So, yeah, it's not pretty, and there's a real shot it could get even worse if we do not get our act together. Hopefully the defense can try to get something going here in the third quarter because it has mostly been bad on this side of the ball. Here's Patrick Dahlfriend, annihilates Juan Thornhill, the former Chief, breaks another tackle and is pushed out of bounds at the 42 by Harold Landry. The Titans' run defense today has been non-existent. It feels like there's been no effort and no pressure up the middle as this pass is intercepted. There's a nice defensive play. Caleb Farley gets it tipped into his hands, and finally something goes well for the Tennessee Titans today. Mahomes was trying to get that up the middle for Kelsey. It deflects off of Farley's head, and he makes a really nice play, grabbing his 3rd interception in as many weeks. So the Titans have it back. Risky throw on second down for Jonnu Smith, who quietly has been a really nice addition to the offense. I think Jonnu Smith's playing some really good football. On first down, Willis is sacked by the safety Derek Forrest for a loss of about 6. Now it's a 3rd and 4 for Tennessee as Willis's pass is nearly intercepted. Cam Curl should have caught that pass, and he could have taken that one the distance if he wanted to. 4th and 4, Tennessee figuring they don't have much to lose. Might as well go for it here. We'll see what the play call is. Willis taking his time. He's going to hand it off here for Derrick Henry, and he is just short. Chris Jones and company bring him down. Another stalled drive for the Titans, and Kansas City's going to get it back, looking to extend the lead even farther. They're already up by 21. Mahomes on second down connects with Travis Kelce breaking tackles, brings it to around midfield for a gain of 16 yards. Kelce dancing around as it continues to be pretty much a perfect game here for the Chiefs. 2nd and 1, handoff up the middle for Edwards-Helaire, who stiff arms the defender and brings Kansas City into the red zone at the 18-yard line. Nice play for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 3rd and 9 now at the 17. Can the Titans defense get a red zone stand? Mahomes looks to throw it, has time, connects with Travis Kelce, and he will not get it. Good display of tackling there. Juan Thornhill finished him off. The initial hit by Chidobe Awuzie. And so the Chiefs are only going to kick the field goal here on 4th and inches. A chip shot here for Harrison Butker from around 25. He gets it to go down. Kansas City extends the lead 27-3. 3rd and 9, Willis misfires for Jonnu Smith. Another quickly stalled drive for the Titans, and the Chiefs are going to get it back here at the 45. Mahomes looks to throw it up the middle. Pass is caught by Justin Jefferson. He'll get it to the 30. Another nice play for the Kansas City offense as they continue to move the chains. Following play, Mahomes looks to throw it. Has time, connects with Travis Kelce. Kelce gets by Thornhill and is pushed into the end zone for a Kansas City Chiefs touchdown. And this blowout continues to get even worse. It's now 34-3. The Titans have it back, 3rd and 5. Handoff up the middle for Derrick Henry. The Titans are trying to get the run game back going, but at this stage in the game, when you're down by 31 points, it's hard not to just try to play hero ball. On first down, Willis looks to throw it. Has an open man up the middle. It's Jonnu Smith who gets it past the 35. Okay, now the Titans are getting into a little bit of a groove on this drive. We'll see if they can keep it going. Following play, Willis under pressure, tipped and intercepted. Marcus Bowling, the defensive tackle, with the interception, and he's going to take it all the way for a pick 6. It's just been that kind of day for the Tennessee Titans, and things are going to get even worse as it's going to be 41-3 pending the extra point. I think this play is a perfect display of how this game is going. Nick Bolton with the pressure. Marcus Bowling is able to pick it up, and he takes it the length of the field. Willis on second down is sacked by Brian Cook now. My God, is this hard to watch. Malik Willis has not been good today, but in his defense, the pass protection has been a total disaster. 3rd and 16. Willis takes a shot, and it's caught by Treylon Burks. There's a nice little play to the 43-yard line for a nice conversion on 3rd down. Final play of the third quarter. It's a dump off for Rocket Reddick, and he's going to take this one all the way for a touchdown, and the Titans finally find the end zone. Rocket Reddick with the 43-yard touchdown. Put on your rally caps, kids. I think the Titans are making a comeback. 41-10 is now your score. Kansas City still leads big. Assuming there's no funny business in the fourth quarter, we're going to try to get through this quarter pretty quickly. As on first down, Patrick Dahlfriend starts off with a bang here for Kansas City as he gets all the way to the 38. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, Justin Jefferson is hurt on the play. The last thing Kansas City needs is injuries. Luckily for them, Justin Jefferson should be fine. He might even return to the game. 3rd and 2, back to Dahlfriend up the middle. He gets it to the 15-yard line. And Patrick Dahlfriend is now over 100 yards on the day. 10 carries for a $102. 1st and goal from the 2. Mahomes looks to throw it, and it is caught by Justin Jefferson for the touchdown. If things could not get any worse, we are now getting grittied on by Justin Jefferson as it's now 48-10 with about 7 minutes to go. Can this game just end? Derrick Henry up the middle. He's in the zone as he gets to the 43-yard line for a nice gain. 2nd and 8 now from the 46. Willis looks to throw it. Goes up the middle for Scotty Piggins. He gets it past the 40 to the 39-yard line. 2nd and 10 now. Titans really running a lot of no huddle as this time it's Elijah Bryant to the 26. The Titans now have it in the red zone. It's a 4th and 10. They might as well go for it. Willis looks to throw it under pressure. Tries to get it up the middle, but it is dropped in the secondary. That'll be a turnover on downs. And so Kansas City would choose some more clock. The Titans get it back with about 2 minutes to go. Still 48-10. As on first down, Willis looks to throw it. And if this game wasn't already over, now it's officially over. An interception for the Chiefs defense. And I think this game is now done with. Thank the Lord. This was a total slop fest as the Kansas City Chiefs win it by the final score of 48-10. Normally, in a game like this, I would just try to find one singular positive, maybe one guy who played well. I literally cannot think of anybody who performed well. The pass game was bad. The run game, I guess the run game was pretty good. We ran the ball fine. The offensive line wasn't good. The receivers were not good. The pass rush and linebackers were abysmal. The secondary was horrible. I mean, just a total disaster from our Tennessee Titans here. Patrick Mahomes, normal day in the office for him. As for Malik Willis, he was pretty bad. He was inaccurate. He missed a lot of throws. Again, in his defense, he had no time to throw it, but even so, when he did, he was quite bad. The Chiefs ran the ball down our throats. Edwards-Helaire and Dahlfriend were both great. We actually ran the ball well, too. We just didn't run the ball a lot because, well, in the second half, we were down by 30 the whole time. We had to throw the ball. Kelsey and Jefferson were really good. None of our receivers really stood out. I guess Rocket Reddick had a nice day. He had that one touchdown. I'll give him credit. And then defensively, we had 1 tackle for loss the entire game. That's not good. The Chiefs only had 2 sacks, but it felt like they were in the backfield the entire game. And, of course, the interception by Tyreek Gillespie, the former Titan, along with the pick 6 by Marcus Bowling. So we've got a few storyline scenarios here to go through. None of them are going to be positive at all. As Willis says, I don't want to say anything about that game. I don't really want to talk about it. I think that's a bad way to look at it. I think we need to review the film here, see what you did wrong, and try to correct it. I think just brushing it under the rug is a bad idea. So I really do not like that answer from Malik Willis. Is this loss any better because it was led by a team with Patrick Mahomes? No, it's not, because our entire team was dreadful today. It's not like Patrick Mahomes individually carved us up, which he did, but the entire Chiefs team completely dominated in the line of scrimmage, in the trenches, everywhere. So what do we have to do going forward? Yeah, this was a tough loss. We are going to have to play a lot better, and it's not going to get any easier, as we've got a really tough doubleheader in the next episode with the Steelers and the Cowboys. Let's simulate the week, take a look at some of the scores around the NFL. The Panthers are now 4-0. I'm pretty sure they're the only undefeated team left. Clyde Williamson beats Kate Hutchinson in their first head-to-head matchup as Minnesota loses their first game of the year. Looking at some other scores, the Dallas Cowboys, who lost 1 game last year, are now 0-4. The Rams lost. They're 1-3. That's good news because we had their first-round pick. And then the Packers and Jaguars also win in prime time. Players of the week, Clyde Williamson, Joe Burrow, Sidney Jones, and Von Miller. So that'll bring us to the next episode. We've got a doubleheader against the Steelers. That's a huge game. Sunday Night Football, playoff rematch. They beat us last year in the divisional round, so we are certainly looking for revenge. And then week 6 at home against the Cowboys. I know they're 0-4, but those guys just won the Super Bowl last year. They're a great team. So if we don't rebound from this horrible loss, things could go downhill. But I don't want to be too negative. The team is 3-1. We're still off to a pretty good start. Hopefully this loss against the Chiefs was just a one-time thing and we can rebound next week in Pittsburgh. That'll wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed, even though the game went pretty badly. Hopefully it'll still a fun episode along with the prospect profile. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out. Tighten up.